Victoria postponed our wedding in front of 200 guests, and somehow still expected me to wait for her. The ballroom had been arranged for a ceremony at noon. White flowers covered the stage. My mother was sitting in the second row. My best man had the rings in his pocket. The officiant had already checked the license paperwork with us that morning. Then Julian Hale walked through the side doors. Victoria saw him before I did. I knew the moment her face changed. She had been tense all morning, but the tension had looked like nerves. When Julian appeared, the expression became something else. Recognition. Urgency. The kind of attention that erases everyone else in the room. He walked toward the front without an invitation. Victoria stepped off the stage before he reached us. I heard my mother and Hale behind me. Julian said something too quietly for the guests to hear. Victoria looked at me. "Ethan, I need a minute." I had heard that sentence for years. I need a minute. I need one more meeting. I need you to understand. I need you to handle this because I can't leave the office. I need you to explain to your family that the lunch moved. I need you to cancel dinner. I need you to move the trip. I need you to be reasonable. That day, for the first time, I did not ask what she needed. I just waited. Julian glanced at the room, uncomfortable for exactly 3 seconds. Then he handed her a folder. Victoria opened it. Her eyes moved quickly across the first page. "What happened?" "The board called an emergency session." "Why didn't Nora contact me?" "Because this is about the acquisition." Victoria looked at me again. Her company, Asteron Systems, had been negotiating to acquire a smaller logistics software firm for months. Julian had founded that company after leaving Asteron. He was also Victoria's former boyfriend. Those two facts had complicated our engagement more than either of them ever admitted. Victoria lowered the folder. "Ethan, I have to go." The room seemed to tilt without moving. I looked at the clock on the far wall. The ceremony was supposed to begin in less than 5 minutes. "Go where?" "To the board meeting." "Now?" "This can change everything." I stared at her. She stepped closer. "I know how this looks." That was another sentence I had heard before. When Julian called after midnight. When Victoria cancelled our engagement dinner because he needed help with financing. When she spent a weekend at a conference with him after telling me there were no available rooms for spouses. When she moved his office next to hers after the acquisition talks began. She always knew how it looked. She simply expected the appearance to matter less than her explanation. "Then tell me how it is," I said. Her mouth tightened. "Not here." "Why not?" "Because we have guests." I almost laughed. She had remembered the guests only after deciding to leave them. Julian shifted. "Victoria, we really need to move." I looked at him. "Don't." He stopped. Victoria's eyes flashed. "Ethan." "No." I kept my voice low. "Whatever you're about to say to me, say it yourself." Julian stepped back. For once, he understood. Victoria took a breath. "The acquisition agreement has changed." "Okay. If I don't attend this meeting, Julian may lose the company." "Okay. And Asteron could lose the deal." "Okay." Her frustration rose. "Can you stop saying okay like that?" "How should I say it?" "This isn't just about him." "I didn't say it was." "It's about my company." "I know." "It's about hundreds of employees." "I know." "Then why are you acting like I'm choosing some ex-boyfriend over you?" I looked at the flowers. The officiant. My mother. The guests who had flown in from 3 cities. Then I looked back at Victoria in her wedding dress. "Because you are leaving our wedding with your ex-boyfriend." A murmur moved through the room. Victoria's face hardened. That is an unfair way to describe it. It's exactly what is happening. I am not canceling the wedding. What are you doing? Postponing it. The word landed harder than if she had shouted. Behind me, someone whispered. Victoria reached for my hand. We can do this next week. I pulled my hand back before she touched it. Her expression changed. Ethan. Next week? Or whenever works. Whenever works. You know what I mean. I do. That was the problem. I knew exactly what she meant. The wedding mattered until something she considered more important appeared. Then it became movable. Like every dinner. Every holiday. Every plan. Every promise. I took the ring off my finger. It was not a wedding ring. Just the simple platinum band Victoria had given me during our private engagement ceremony. I placed it on the small table beside the flowers. She stared at it. What are you doing? Ending the engagement. Her face went blank. Julian looked away. Victoria shook her head. No. No? You don't mean that. I do. You're angry. Yes. So don't make a permanent decision while you're angry. I almost admired the sentence. She had just postponed our wedding in front of everyone because Julian arrived with a folder, but my reaction was the dangerous impulse. I've made permanent decisions for less. Ethan. The venue is paid. I know. The guests are here. I know. Our families are here. I know. You told me this morning that this was the happiest day of your life. Her eyes filled. It was. Until Julian walked in. That isn't fair. Maybe not. I picked up my jacket from the chair beside the stage. But it is finished. She grabbed my wrist. Don't walk away like this. I looked at her hand. Then at her. You already did. She let go. I walked down the aisle alone. No dramatic music. No shouting. No applause. Just the soft sound of people moving aside. My mother stood as I passed. Ethan? I'll call you. She searched my face. Then she nodded. She had watched me wait for Victoria long enough. Outside the ballroom, I loosened my tie. The hotel connected to the Sterling Civic Center through a glass walkway. Victoria and I had chosen the location partly because the county marriage office was in the next building. We had picked up our paperwork there earlier in the week. I reached the Civic Center lobby and stopped. Claire Brooks was standing near the security desk. She wore a dark service uniform. Her hair was pinned back. A leather document case rested under one arm. She looked at me. Then at my suit. Then at the empty ring finger. Her expression changed. Ethan? I had known Claire for 14 years. We met when we were 20 and thought adulthood was something that happened to other people. She joined the military. I went into corporate risk work. For a while, we tried to make a relationship survive distance, training, deployments, and two people who were too proud to admit they were afraid. It ended without betrayal. That almost made it harder. Years later, we became friends again. Carefully. When Victoria and I started dating, Claire stepped back. Not dramatically. She simply stopped calling late. Stopped inviting me to visit when she was home. Stopped allowing old feelings to become a problem I would have to solve. That restraint was one of the reasons I trusted her. What happened? She asked. Victoria postponed it. The wedding? Yes. Claire stared. Today? About 3 minutes ago. Why? Julian. She closed her eyes. Of course. I gave a tired laugh. What are you doing here? Updating dependent records before reassignment. I remembered. She had mentioned she was transferring to a regional command post near Lake Mercer. She held up the document case. I had to bring originals. I nodded. The marriage office sign was visible beyond the security lane. Claire followed my gaze. Don't. I looked at her. Don't what? Whatever thought just crossed your face? I didn't say anything. I know you. Not as well as you think. Ethan. I laughed again. This time it sounded worse. She stepped closer. Are you okay? No. Then go home. I don't have one. Her eyes narrowed. You have a house. Victoria owns it. You live there. I live there. You're not moving out because of one argument. It wasn't an argument. What was it? A decision. Claire studied me. You ended it. Yes. For real? Yes. She glanced toward the marriage office. Then back at me. Ethan. Do you remember Greystone? Her face changed. Years earlier, before either of us had learned how carefully adults were supposed to hide what they wanted, Claire and I had made a ridiculous agreement at a diner in Greystone. If we were both unmarried at 40, we would get married. We had laughed. Then, over the years, the joke became something we occasionally referenced when life went wrong. Victoria knew about it. She had once called it childish. Claire looked at me. We are not 40. Close enough. No. Why? Because you were supposed to get married 10 minutes ago. That didn't happen. Exactly. She lowered her voice. You are hurt. Yes. You are furious. Yes. You are standing in a civic center with a marriage office behind me. Also yes. This is not how adults make decisions. Victoria just taught me something about adult decisions. Don't use her mistake to justify yours. That stopped me. Claire had always been good at that. She never gave me the answer I wanted simply because she cared about me. I looked through the glass wall at the people crossing the plaza. What if it isn't a mistake? She went still. I am not asking because I want revenge. You can't know that right now. I know I don't want to go back. That is different. I know. She waited. I took a breath. Do you remember why we ended? Distance. Partly. Timing. Partly. You wanted a home. So did you. I couldn't promise where I'd be. And I made you feel guilty for that. Claire looked down. You were 24. So were you. We were terrible at it. Yes. A smile touched her mouth despite everything. We were. I continued. When we found each other again, I thought maybe there was still something there. She looked up. There was. I swallowed. Why didn't you say anything? Because you were with Victoria. I know. That matters. I know. And if I marry you today, I need to know I am not the door you run through because another one slammed shut. I looked at her. You would marry me? She gave me a look. That is not what I said. It's close. It isn't. Claire. She exhaled. The license office closes early today. I blinked. What? For a staff training. How early? She checked the clock. Very. I laughed. She did not. You are impossible. You are the one proposing in a government lobby. Was that a proposal? No. It sounded like one. Ethan. I stepped closer. I don't want a ceremony. Good. I don't want guests. Better. I don't want flowers. I hate lilies. I remember. Her expression softened. I want a legal marriage with someone who understands that choosing each other is a verb. She looked at me for a long time. That is a terrible line. It's true. It can be both. Will you? She glanced toward the marriage office again. Then at my face. If I say yes, you do not get to make me responsible for proving Victoria wrong. I won't. You do not get to compare us every time we fight. I won't. You do not get to expect me to leave the military. I won't. You do not get to pretend my job won't be difficult. I know it will. And if you wake up tomorrow and realize this was grief, then I will still be married to someone I have trusted for 14 years. Her eyes filled. That's unfair. What is? You knew exactly what to say. No. I smiled slightly. I finally knew what I meant. Claire closed her eyes. When she opened them, she looked toward the clerk's office. Come on. The license process took longer than 10 minutes. The decision did not. That part happened almost immediately. The county allowed same-day civil ceremonies when documentation was complete, and no statutory delay applied. Claire had her identification with her. I had mine from the wedding paperwork. We filled out forms at a counter while I was still wearing the suit meant for another ceremony. The clerk looked at my jacket. Then at Claire's uniform. Then at both of us. Busy day? Claire said. You have no idea. The clerk did not ask. I respected her for that. A deputy civil officiant was available. We signed in a small room with beige walls and a framed landscape print. No music. No flowers. No audience except a clerk and one security officer who served as a witness. Claire stood beside me in uniform. I held her hand. It was warm. The officiant looked at us. Are you both entering this marriage voluntarily? Claire squeezed my fingers. Yes. I answered the same. The officiant continued through the formal language. I listened carefully. Not because I doubted. Because I had spent years treating promises like flexible things. I wanted to hear everyone. When it was over, Claire looked at me. Well. You realize I don't have a ring. Neither do I. That seems appropriate. For now. She smiled. Then her phone vibrated. She checked it. Duty office. Go. You just married me. Yes. And you're telling me to go to work. You have a job. Her eyes searched mine. Something in her relaxed. I can be back in an hour. Take the time you need. I don't know how long. I'll be here. She leaned in and kissed me. Not like a movie. Not like a victory. Like a promise between two people who already knew promises cost something. Then she walked out in uniform. I sat in the Civic Center lobby holding a certified marriage record while my phone began to explode. My mother called first. I answered. Are you safe? Yes. Where are you? Civic Center. Why? I looked at the paper. I got married. Silence. Long enough that I checked the screen. Mom? To whom? Claire. More silence. Then, very softly, Claire Brooks? Yes. The officer? Yes. The one you dated before Victoria? Yes. Ethan. I know. No, I don't think you do. I probably don't. How long ago did Victoria postpone the wedding? I looked at the clock. Less than half an hour. My mother made a sound I had never heard from her. It was somewhere between a laugh and a prayer for patience. Are you out of your mind? Possibly. Does Claire know that? She was present. That made her laugh despite herself. Then her voice softened. Do you love her? I looked toward the doors Claire had walked through. Yes. You answered fast. I've had years. My mother went quiet. I wondered. What? If you ever stopped. I did not answer. She sighed. Victoria is looking for you. Of course. She came back. How long was she gone? About 15 minutes. That hurt more than I expected. The emergency important enough to postpone our wedding had apparently been handled in 15 minutes. What does she want? You. No. Ethan. Mom. I know. She understood. I'll tell her you're safe. Don't tell her where I am. I won't. We hung up. 5 minutes later, Victoria called. I let it ring. Then again. Then again. A message appeared. Where are you? Another. We need to talk. Another. Please do not do something stupid. I looked at the marriage certificate. Too late, I thought. Then I hated myself for thinking it. Claire deserved better than being framed as a reckless act. I turned my phone off. When she returned, she was still in uniform. She had changed nothing except her expression. She looked calmer. More certain. You stayed. I said I would. She sat beside me. Any regrets? None. That fast? Ask me again tomorrow. I will. She looked at the document in my hand. Your family? My mother thinks I may be insane. Smart woman. Victoria is looking for me. Claire's jaw tightened slightly. Do you want to see her? No. Are you sure? Yes. Then we leave. She stood. I followed. Outside, a black military sedan waited at the curb. An enlisted driver sat in front. Claire opened the passenger side rear door. You get official transport now? Temporary access for transfer duty. Very glamorous. It smells like old coffee. Less glamorous. I was about to get in when someone shouted my name. Ethan! I stopped. Victoria was running across the plaza. Still in her wedding dress. Her shoes were in one hand. Julian was nowhere in sight. Claire turned. Victoria saw her. Then the uniform. Then me. Then the certified envelope in my hand. Her face changed. What is this? I said nothing. She came closer. Ethan, what did you do? Claire looked at me. Not protective. Not possessive. Just waiting for me to decide whether I wanted her to stay. I did. I reached for her hand. Victoria stared at our fingers. No. It was the same word she had used when I ended the engagement. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Ethan. I got married. Her face strained of color. To her? Yes. You can't. I did. How? Legally. That's not what I mean. I know. She looked at Claire. You. Claire's expression remained calm. Victoria. You knew. Knew what? That today was our wedding. Yes. And you married him anyway? Claire glanced at me. He asked. Victoria laughed once. It sounded broken. You think this is funny? No. You have been waiting for this. Claire's eyes hardened. No. Don't lie. I stepped away when he chose you. Victoria flinched. Claire continued. I respected your relationship more than you did today. I squeezed her hand. Not to stop her. To remind both of us that I was not an object they were fighting over. Enough. Claire nodded. Victoria looked at me. Ethan, come back inside. No. We can fix this. No. You can't seriously think a courthouse signature means more than 7 years together. I don't. She blinked. Then come back. I think your choice today means more than 7 years of excuses. Her mouth opened. I continued. You didn't make one mistake. Ethan. You made the same choice again. This was about the acquisition. I know. It affects thousands of people. I know. Julian called because the board was changing the deal. I know. Then why are you acting like I ran away with him? Because I stopped caring what label makes you comfortable. She stared. I felt the anger rise. Then settle. For years I had thought winning an argument with Victoria would change the next decision. It never did. So I did not argue. I hope the deal works. Her eyes widened. Don't do that. Do what? Talk like we're strangers. We are not strangers. Then act like it. I am. I lifted the envelope. We were engaged. Ethan. Now I'm married. She looked at Claire again. You're using her to punish me. No. You expect me to believe you just happened to run into your ex and marry her 10 minutes after leaving our wedding? I don't care what you believe. That sentence stunned both of us. Victoria had spent years making me explain myself until she was satisfied. I had finally stopped. Her voice dropped. You loved me this morning. Yes. Then you still love me. I looked at her. Probably. She seemed relieved. Then I finished. That doesn't mean I should marry you. The relief vanished. Love had been Victoria's strongest argument for years. As if loving someone meant every boundary had to remain negotiable. Claire opened the car door. I looked at Victoria one last time. Go back to your board. Ethan. That was your choice. Then I got into the car. Claire followed. The door closed. Victoria stood on the curb in her wedding dress while the sedan pulled away. I did not turn around. The first night of my marriage was spent in a furnished apartment Claire had been assigned for temporary duty. There was one bedroom. One sofa. A kitchen with 3 mismatched pans. Nothing about it looked like a honeymoon. I liked it. Claire changed out of uniform and came into the living room wearing sweatpants and a gray shirt. I was sitting on the floor with takeout containers between us. Romantic, she said. I can light a candle. There isn't one. I can turn off the overhead light. That would improve everything. I did. She sat across from me. For a while neither of us spoke. Then Claire said, You still have time to panic. I've been panicking for years. Different kind. I know. She picked up a fork. Victoria will not disappear. I know. She'll call. I know. She may attack the marriage. Legally? Emotionally. More dangerous. Claire gave me a look. I'm serious. So am I. She set the fork down. I don't want to become a battlefield. You won't. Ethan, I watched you build your life around her. I looked at her. That is why this scares me. Me too. You asked me to marry you because you trust me? Yes. That isn't the same as knowing how to be married to me. No. And I don't know how to be married to you. Good. She frowned. Good? We can learn instead of pretending. She studied me. Then smiled faintly. Still too good at saying things. I work in risk communication. That explains why you sound like a contract sometimes. Occupational damage. Her smile faded. Can I ask something ugly? Yes. If Victoria had not postponed the wedding, would you have married her? I did not answer immediately. Yes. Claire looked down. I reached across the table. That doesn't mean marrying you is second choice. It sounds like it. I know. Then explain. I took a breath. I was going to marry Victoria because I believed commitment meant staying through every difficult season. It often does. I turned that into staying through every repeated decision. Claire said nothing. I kept telling myself the next time would be different because she loved me. She probably did. I know. That's harder. Yes. I squeezed her hand. You and I ended because we were afraid life would force one of us to shrink. Claire looked at me. With Victoria, I shrank willingly and called it support. Her fingers tightened around mine. I don't want to do that again. Neither do I. So if I ever start, I'll tell you. And if you start? You tell me. Even if I hate hearing it. Especially then. That became the first real agreement of our marriage. Not romance. Not sex. Not a ring. Permission to tell the truth before resentment made truth useless. The next morning, I woke before Claire. For a few seconds, I did not know where I was. Then I saw her uniform jacket hanging over a chair. The marriage records sat on the counter. My phone, still off, lay beside it. I expected regret. Instead, I felt grief. That surprised me. I sat at the small kitchen table and missed Victoria. Not the woman who left the ballroom. The woman who used to fall asleep with her head on my shoulder while we watched terrible crime shows. The woman who once drove through a snowstorm because my father was in surgery. The woman who built Asteron from a rented office and 3 employees. The woman who had looked at me years ago and said she wanted a life where ambition did not require loneliness. People do not become villains all at once. Sometimes they become busy. Then entitled. Then surrounded by people who reward their worst instincts. Then they stop noticing who pays for the convenience. I still loved the person Victoria had been. Maybe even the person she was. But I no longer trusted the future she kept asking me to wait for. Claire entered the kitchen. She saw my face. Her? Yes. She poured coffee. Do you want me to be jealous? No. Good. I'm tired. I laughed quietly. She sat across from me. You can miss her. I know. You can love her. I looked up. Claire continued. I am not marrying a man with no history. That generous attitude may become irritating. It already is. I smiled. Then I turned on my phone. There were 47 missed calls. Most were Victoria. Some were friends. 3 were from Asteron executives I knew personally. 1 was from Julian. I deleted that one without listening. Victoria's messages changed tone over the night. Call me. We need to undo this. Ethan, this isn't you. Please answer. I handled the board situation. The deal is safe. I am at the house. Your things are here. I know you're angry. I am not with Julian. Please stop punishing me. Then, near dawn, I am sorry. That message was different. Not enough. But different. Claire watched me. What now? I need to move my things. Today? The house is hers. You contributed. To expenses. Any ownership? No. Then yes, move. She stood. I'll come. You have work. I have 2 hours. I can hire movers. You can. But if you walk back into that house alone, she will turn it into a negotiation. She was right. Victoria had never met a boundary she could not turn into a meeting. We drove over after breakfast. Claire wore civilian clothes. I appreciated that. The house sat in a private development called Cedar Glen. Victoria bought it before we got engaged. I had paid for improvements and part of the monthly costs, but the title was hers. That made leaving simpler. It also made me realize how much of my life I had built inside structures I did not own. Victoria opened the door before I knocked. She had changed out of the wedding dress. She wore yesterday's makeup and a black sweater. She looked like she had not slept. Then she saw Claire behind me. Her expression changed. You brought her? Yes. Why? Because she's my wife. Victoria closed her eyes. Stop saying that. It's true. Not to me. I waited. She looked at Claire. Can you give us privacy? Claire looked at me. I nodded. I'll start with the garage, she said. Victoria stared as Claire walked away. You let her into our house. Your house. Don't. I'm being accurate. You're being cruel. No. I walked toward the stairs. I'm packing. She followed. Ethan, please. I opened the bedroom closet. Most of my clothes fit on one side. That had once seemed normal. I pulled out 2 suitcases. Victoria stood in the doorway. Did you sleep with her? I stopped. That is not your business. Her face twisted. We were supposed to be married yesterday. We weren't. Because I delayed it. Yes. For a board emergency. Yes. Not because I didn't love you. I believe you. That disarmed her. You do? Yes. Then why are you doing this? I folded shirts into the suitcase. Because love did not stop you. She stared. I continued. You loved me and still left. One time. I looked at her. She corrected herself. Yesterday was different. Was it? It was our wedding. Exactly. No, I mean the other times weren't like that. Which times? She went silent. The investor dinner? Ethan. My birthday? That was a financing deadline. My mother's retirement dinner? Asteron had a crisis. The weekend we were supposed to meet the fertility specialist? Her face changed. That was Julian's lawsuit. Your company's lawsuit. Same thing. No. I zipped the suitcase. That is exactly the problem. She stepped inside the room. Julian was part of the acquisition. Yes. So helping him protected Asteron. Sometimes. Then what do you want me to say? Nothing. She looked hurt. I had spent years begging for explanations. Now their absence was the only peace I wanted. I packed books, documents, my grandfather's watch, a framed photograph of my parents. Victoria watched. You're really leaving? I left yesterday. You were angry? I am still angry. Then wait. No. 1 week. No. 3 days. No. Ethan. I turned. You keep asking for time because time has always solved your consequences. She frowned. What does that mean? I calmed down. That's not fair. I reschedule. Ethan. I explained to my family. Stop. I cancel my plans. Stop. I wait. Her eyes filled. I lowered my voice. I am done being the delay between your decisions and their consequences. She covered her mouth. For the first time, I saw the shape of what she was losing. Not the wedding. Not the ring. The system. Me. The man who turned every disruption into something manageable. Claire came upstairs carrying 2 empty storage bins. She stopped when she saw Victoria crying. I can come back. No, I said. Victoria laughed bitterly. Of course not. Claire's expression remained neutral. I pointed toward the office. My project files are in there. Claire nodded and went. Victoria watched her. You trust her with everything? No. Looks like it. I trust her with boxes. You know what I mean. I did. I trust her to hear no. Victoria flinched. That sentence ended the conversation. I finished packing by afternoon. Most of my furniture belonged to the house. Most of my kitchen equipment had been bought together, but I left it. We could sort reimbursements later if needed. I did not want to fight over a blender. I took what was clearly mine. Documents. Clothes. Personal electronics. Books. Work equipment. Family property. Nothing more. At the front door, Victoria stood with her arms folded. Where will you live? Claire's temporary apartment. That's ridiculous. Maybe. You hate small apartments. I'll survive. Your office is 20 minutes from here. I work remotely most weeks. You built the basement office. I know. Your gym is here. I know. Your life is here. I looked at the packed car. No. She understood. Her voice dropped. Is she really worth throwing everything away? Claire, standing near the trunk, heard. I looked at Victoria. This is not about her worth. It is now. No. I shook my head. This is about mine. Victoria stared. Then I got in the car. Over the next month, my life became paperwork. I withdrew from the wedding venue contract. I closed shared subscriptions. I moved the utilities tied to my name. I separated a travel rewards account that had been mine before our engagement. I notified the landlord on a small storage unit we shared. I removed myself as an authorized user from a corporate hospitality account Victoria had added me to. Nothing dramatic. Nothing vindictive. Just boundaries converted into administration. Victoria hated it. Every small notification reminded her I was serious. She called about the streaming account, the gym membership, the wine subscription, the joint calendar. The emergency contact forms. Each conversation began with a practical issue and ended with the same question. Are you really staying married to her? Yes. Claire and I bought inexpensive rings 2 weeks after the courthouse ceremony. Mine was plain silver. Hers was brushed titanium because she wanted something durable. We chose them together at a small shop near her base. No photographers. No family. No announcement. My mother came to dinner that night. She hugged Claire. Then she looked at me. I still think you're both insane, Claire said. That's fair. My mother nodded. I like her. I laughed. The marriage was not easy. That mattered. Claire had an assignment schedule that changed with little warning. Sometimes she was gone before sunrise. Sometimes she came home after midnight. The first time she canceled dinner because of an emergency briefing, my entire body reacted before my mind did. I became cold. Quiet. Claire noticed immediately. What happened? Nothing. That is never true when someone says it like that. I looked at the food I had already packed away. You said you'd be home? Her expression shifted. Understanding. Then concern. This was an operational briefing. I know. I couldn't leave. I know. Ethan. I hated how familiar the words sounded. I stood. Forget it. No. She blocked the kitchen doorway. Do not make me chase an argument you refuse to name. I'm not arguing. Then talk. I took a breath. Victoria always had a reason. Claire went still. There it is. I know it's unfair. It is. I know. But it is real. Yes. I rubbed my face. I don't want to punish you for her. Then don't. I am trying. Claire leaned against the counter. Do you want to know what happened tonight? Yes. She explained. Not defensively. Not as a demand that I approve. Just facts. A personnel issue. An urgent planning change. A commander who needed her present. Then she said, Next time, I will message you earlier if I can. If you can. Yes. And if you can't? Then you'd get to be disappointed. That surprised me. What? You'd get to be disappointed. She stepped closer. You do not get to decide disappointment means betrayal. I nodded. And I do not get to decide my job erases your disappointment. That became another agreement. We built the marriage out of those. Not grand vows. Small corrections. Claire's next transfer came sooner than expected. She was offered a command role in another region. Accepting it would move her almost 3 hours away. She brought the paperwork home and placed it on the table. What do you want to do? I asked. What do we want to do? I almost smiled. That sounds healthier. Don't get sentimental. We spent 3 nights discussing it. My work was flexible. Her opportunity mattered. Moving would increase my travel time to 2 clients. Staying would mean a commuter marriage during the week. Neither option was perfect. That was new for me. With Victoria, I had usually chosen the option that inconvenienced me least visibly and called that compromise. With Claire, we calculated both costs. We chose to move. I kept a small rented office near my old clients. Claire took the command. We both gave something. Neither disappeared. Victoria noticed the move because a mutual friend mentioned it. She sent one message. So you uprooted your life for her after refusing to wait 1 week for me. I read it twice. Then answered. We made the decision together. She did not reply. Asteron's acquisition of Julian's company closed that fall. Business media praised Victoria for rescuing a complicated deal. Julian joined Asteron as Executive Vice President of Strategy. The announcement photograph showed them standing side by side. I expected pain. There was some. Mostly, I felt tired. Claire saw the article on my laptop. Want me to say something terrible about him? No. I have several options. I appreciate the preparation. She kissed the top of my head and walked away. That was enough. 6 months later, one of my clients hired me to review supplier concentration risk before a major expansion. The work put me in contact with several Asteron vendors. I disclosed my personal history immediately and asked to be removed from any Asteron-specific analysis. The client appreciated it. So did I. I wanted no accidental path back into Victoria's business. But business has its own geometry. People overlap. Names travel. I began hearing things. Not secrets. Nothing improper. Just ordinary industry talk. Julian had become influential quickly. He was involved in acquisitions, capital planning, vendor strategy. Several long-term Asteron executives disliked how often Victoria overruled them after private meetings with him. One former colleague called me for coffee. I shouldn't ask this, he said. Then don't. He smiled awkwardly. Was she always like this with him? Like what? Like his opinion arrives pre-approved. I looked at him. That is between them. I knew you'd say that. Then why ask? Because the board is noticing. I said nothing. He continued. Nothing illegal. Good. But governance gets strange when the CEO has one person she won't challenge. I almost laughed at the symmetry. Victoria had removed me from her life because I challenged her. Then she elevated the man who rarely did. I did not enjoy the thought. I knew too well how expensive that pattern could become. A year after our courthouse marriage, Claire and I finally held a small ceremony. Not because the legal marriage felt incomplete. Because our families wanted a day. We rented a lodge outside Ridgehaven. My mother cried. Claire's father gave a speech that was mostly embarrassing stories from her childhood. We exchanged the same inexpensive rings. No one pretended it was our first promise. It was a public recognition of the life we had already been building. The morning of the ceremony, Claire stood beside the lake in a simple dress. I walked up behind her. Nervous? No. Liar. Fine. A little. Why? She looked at me. Because the first time we married, you had just walked away from someone else. I waited. She continued. Today you are walking toward me. I took her hand. I was walking toward you then. I know. Do you? Now I do. We kissed. Then went inside before my mother sent a search party. Victoria heard about the ceremony. I knew because she called that evening. For the first time in almost a year, I answered. Hello? Silence. Then, congratulations. Thank you? Her voice sounded different. Less sharp. More tired. I saw the pictures. I said nothing. She looks happy. She was. And you? Yes. Another pause. I thought the courthouse thing was temporary. I know. I thought eventually you'd calm down. I know. I thought you married her because you wanted me to hurt. No. I believe you now. That surprised me. What changed? Time. There it was. The one thing she had always expected to work in her favor. Now it had worked against her. She continued. Julian and I are not together. I didn't ask. I know. Then why tell me? Because everyone assumes that is why I left the wedding. It is part of why. No. Her voice sharpened. It was the deal. Victoria. What? You are still explaining. Silence. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. I don't know how not to. Maybe stop trying to change the verdict. What verdict? That I was allowed to leave. She breathed in slowly. I never thought you weren't allowed. Yes, you did. No. You thought I was overreacting. I did. You thought I would come back. I did. You thought loving you meant waiting. She did not answer. That is believing I wasn't allowed to leave. She was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, You're right. I closed my eyes. That was the apology I had once wanted. It came too late to change anything. But it mattered anyway. I am sorry, she said. I know. No, Ethan. Her voice broke. I am actually sorry. I sat on the edge of the bed. Claire was outside with family. The lodge was quiet. Victoria continued. I was so angry when you married her. I know. I thought you had humiliated me. I wasn't trying to. I know that now. She laughed weakly. I made our wedding something that could be moved. Yes. And then I was shocked when you moved on. I said nothing. I don't know what I expected. You expected me to wait. Yes. The honesty hurt more than denial. Why? She took a long breath. Because you always had. There it was. The entire relationship reduced to one terrible truth. I had trained her to believe my boundaries were temporary by repeatedly making them temporary. That part was my fault, I said. What? I kept staying. Don't do that. Do what? Make this partly your fault. It is partly my responsibility. No. Victoria. You loved me. Yes. You were patient. Too patient. That isn't a crime. No. But it taught both of us something unhealthy. She was silent. I continued. You learned I would absorb the cost. And you? I learned being useful was the same as being loved. Her breath caught. I had not known that sentence until I said it. For years I had solved problems for Victoria. Schedules. Travel. Family. Home. Social obligations. Vendor introductions. Crisis communication. I had been proud of being the person she relied on. Then reliance became entitlement. And I kept performing because I mistook being needed for being chosen. Claire changed that. Not by needing me less. By noticing the cost when she did. Victoria said, Is she better than me? No. The answer surprised her. Then why her? Because that is the wrong question. What is the right one? Who are we together? She went quiet. With you, I became someone who waited. And with her? Someone who speaks. I heard her crying. I did not rush to fix it. That was another thing I had learned. Not every pain requires my intervention. Before we hung up, Victoria said, I hope she knows what she has. I looked toward the window. Claire was outside laughing with my mother. She does. Victoria whispered. I didn't. No. Then the call ended. I thought that would be the final chapter between us. It wasn't. Real life rarely gives clean exits. Asteron's board crisis came the following spring. Not because Julian was secretly stealing money. Not because Victoria was incompetent. The truth was more ordinary and more believable. The acquisition strategy had become too aggressive. Asteron carried more debt than several directors were comfortable with. Julian pushed for another purchase. Victoria supported him. Finance opposed it. Two independent directors demanded a formal review of decision-making procedures. The issue became public when an investor report questioned whether too much strategic authority had become concentrated between Victoria and Julian. No scandal. No crime. Governance. The same invisible structural issue that had existed in her personal life now existed in her company. She trusted one person too much because challenging him threatened the story she told herself about their partnership. The board did not fire her. It restricted certain acquisition authorities and created an independent strategy committee. Julian resigned 3 months later. Industry coverage described it as a disagreement over direction. I believe that. Victoria did not collapse. Asteron did not disappear. She remained CEO. But she had to change. That was more interesting than destruction. A mutual friend told me she began using a different executive team. She promoted people who argued with her. She stopped attending every crisis personally. She delegated. She took actual vacations. Part of me was angry that she learned with other people what I had begged her to learn with me. Then I understood that growth does not owe its benefits to the person who paid for the lesson. Claire and I had our own crisis that year. She received orders for an extended assignment overseas. Not combat. But long enough to matter. The old fear returned immediately. Distance. Absence. A life rearranged around military obligation. Claire put the orders on the table. I can request deferment. I looked at her. Do you want to? No. That answer hurt. She saw it. But I will if this breaks us. I sat down. I don't want you to resent me. I don't want you to disappear inside my career. The sentence echoed painfully close to my history. For 2 days we argued. Real arguments. Not polite discussions. I accused her of being too willing to leave. She accused me of treating any absence like abandonment. Both were partly right. That was the worst kind of argument. Eventually, we stopped trying to win. We built a plan. Travel windows. Communication expectations. Financial arrangements. What decisions could be made alone? What had to wait? Who would handle emergencies? How often I could visit? What happened if the assignment extended? It felt almost unromantic. It saved us. Claire left. I hated it. I also survived it. That distinction healed something in me. Being left physically was not the same as being abandoned emotionally. Claire called when she said she would when she could. When she could not, she told me afterward. She asked about my work. She listened. She disagreed. She made room. I did the same. When she returned, she wore a uniform at the arrival terminal. I saw her across the barrier and remembered the civic center curb. Victoria in a wedding dress. Claire in uniform. Me standing between the life I had been waiting for and the one I had chosen. Claire spotted me. She smiled. Then she walked straight into my arms. You look older, she said. So do you. Terrible husband. Welcome home. She kissed me. People moved around us. No one cared. That was perfect. Years later, I saw Victoria in person again. Asteron hosted a risk conference in Harbor Vale. My firm had a panel there. I considered declining. Then decided I was done arranging my life around avoiding her. We crossed paths in a quiet corridor outside the main hall. She stopped. So did I. She looked different. Not dramatically. Just settled. Ethan. Victoria. She smiled faintly. Very formal. Occupational hazard. Still doing risk work? Still making risky decisions. She laughed. For a moment, we were almost the people we had been before everything became difficult. Then she noticed my ring. Her smile changed. Not pain exactly. Recognition. How is Claire? Good. Still serving? Yes. You're still moving around for her? Sometimes. Victoria raised an eyebrow. I thought that was what you hated. No. I smiled. I hated being the only one moving. She nodded slowly. Fair. An Asteron? Less dramatic than the headlines. Usually true. Julian is gone. I heard. We haven't spoken in years. I said nothing. She looked at me. You really don't care anymore. I care that you're okay. That's worse. Why? Because it's kind. I understood. Anger can feel like a remaining claim. Kindness without longing is final. She looked down. I used to imagine showing up at your house. Why? To ask you one more time? To leave Claire? Yes. Would you have? No. She smiled sadly. I know. We stood in silence. Then she said, Do you know what I remember most about that day? The flowers? No. Julian? No. The board meeting? She shook her head. You saying, go back to your board. I remembered. I hated you for that. I know. It sounded like you didn't care. I cared too much. I know that now. She looked toward the conference hall. The meeting lasted 11 minutes. I stared at her. What? The emergency board meeting. I had never known. She laughed without humor. 11 minutes. I thought about my mother's call. She had said Victoria returned after about 15. I postponed our wedding for an 11-minute meeting. You didn't know it would be 11 minutes. No. That matters. Does it? Yes. She looked at me. Why are you defending me? I'm not. I chose my words carefully. You didn't destroy us because the meeting was short. She waited. You destroyed us because you believed our wedding was the thing that could be moved. Her eyes filled. Yes. And if the meeting had lasted 6 hours, the choice would still have been the same. Yes. She nodded. That truth seemed to release something. For years, she had probably tortured herself with the absurdity of 11 minutes. But duration had never been the real issue. Priority had been. She wiped one eye. I am glad you married her. I smiled slightly. That took a while. A very long while. Thank you? No. She shook her head. I mean it. I know. A conference staff member opened the door behind us. Ms. Cole, they're ready. Victoria looked back. Then at me. I should go. Yes. She took one step. Then paused. Ethan. Yeah? If you had waited that day, I think I would have kept asking you to wait forever. I looked at her. I think so too. She nodded. Then walked into the hall. I watched the door close. No triumph. No revenge. Just a finished chapter. That evening, Claire arrived in Harbor Vale on leave. She came straight from the regional base. Still in uniform. I waited outside the hotel beneath the covered entrance. When the car stopped, she stepped out carrying one small bag. She saw me and smiled. Long day? Interesting. Victoria? I blinked. How did you know? You make that face. What face? The one where you look emotionally organized and therefore deeply suspicious. I laughed. Yes. How was it? Good. Good? Final good. Claire studied me. Then nodded. No jealousy. No interrogation. She handed me her bag. Take this. Romance. You married a military officer. I was promised glamour. You were warned about luggage. We walked inside. At the elevator, she reached for my hand. I looked down at our rings. Years earlier, I had believed the most important moment of my life was the instant I married Claire after walking away from Victoria. It made a good story. 10 minutes. A uniform. A stunned ex-fiancée. A courthouse. But that was not the real victory. The real victory came later. Every time Claire and I told each other an inconvenient truth before resentment hardened. Every time we negotiated instead of assuming. Every time I refused to confuse sacrifice with love. Every time she refused to confuse duty with entitlement. Every time one of us left for work and still found a way to come back emotionally. Victoria had once told me a wedding could be postponed because the relationship would still be there. She was wrong about one thing and right about another. Ceremonies are not relationships. Rings are not relationships. Paper is not a relationship. A relationship is the pattern of choices underneath them. That was why our engagement ended before I walked out of the ballroom. It ended in every previous moment when Victoria chose something else and I taught her there would be no cost. The ceremony was only the first time I refused to reset the clock. Claire squeezed my hand. What are you thinking about? The Civic Center. She smiled. Still regret marrying me? Ask me tomorrow. She laughed. You said that the first night. I know. And? I looked at her. Still no. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside and pulled me with her. I went willingly. Several years later, Claire found the old civil marriage envelope while we were clearing a cabinet before another move. You kept this? Apparently, I inherited your habit of saving dangerous paperwork. She sat on the floor with the envelope across her knees. The paper inside had softened at the folds, but both signatures were still clear. Mine looked unusually steady for a man who had ended one future and chosen another in the same hour. Claire traced the date with one finger. People still think I rescued you that day. You argued with me in a government lobby for most of it. Exactly, and that was excellent judgment. I sat beside her. By then, the story had become family folklore. My mother still described our marriage as the most alarming phone call of her adult life. Claire's father insisted he had known we would eventually find our way back to each other, although no one remembered him saying that before it happened. Friends liked the dramatic version because dramatic versions fit neatly into a sentence. The truth had never been neat. I had not stopped loving Victoria the instant she walked away from the ceremony. Claire had not become my wife because she happened to be standing near a marriage office in uniform. Years of choices had brought all of us to that hallway. The 10 minutes only made those choices impossible to ignore. Claire looked at me. Do you ever think we should tell people the less exciting version? Which part? The part where we spent the first year arguing about groceries, travel schedules, and who forgot to renew the car registration. That would ruin the legend. Good. She folded the document carefully and returned it to the envelope. Our marriage had survived transfers, long separations, career changes, my mother's surgery, Claire's promotion, a miserable renovation, and one dog that considered every closed door a personal insult. None of those things looked as dramatic as the day we married. They mattered more. Victoria eventually stepped down from Asteron's chief executive role and moved into a board position. I learned about it from a business newsletter and felt nothing sharper than ordinary curiosity. The company had survived her mistakes because she had eventually learned to build systems that did not depend on one favored person. That seemed fitting. Julian built another firm, sold it, and disappeared from the industry circles I followed. No scandal finished him. No spectacular punishment arrived. He simply became less important to a story that had once revolved around the space he occupied in Victoria's attention. That seemed fitting too. Claire leaned her shoulder against mine. Still think 10 minutes was enough time? I looked at the old signatures. No. Her eyebrows rose. Excuse me? 10 minutes was enough time to decide. I took her hand. The rest took years. She smiled. Better answer. Outside, a moving truck waited at the curb. Claire had accepted another command assignment, and I had chosen to relocate my primary office rather than commute every week. This time, either of us called it sacrifice. We had listed the costs, argued about them, changed our minds twice, and chosen the plan together. That was what I had once failed to understand about commitment. Waiting is not love when only one person is expected to do it. Compromise is not partnership when the same person always becomes smaller. And a promise is not protected by how long it has existed. It is protected by what both people continue to do after making it. Claire stood and held out her hand. Come on, husband. Where are we going? Home. The word no longer meant a house I had arranged around someone else's schedule. It meant the place two people kept choosing to build together. I took her hand and followed.